What is going on, guys? Rodney here with Crypto Bros, and today we're going to be taking a look at Zilliqa. Before we jump into this little presentation, what I'm going to tell you is this isn't one of those videos where I just scroll through the website and then talk about things that I see. Those are actually fairly easy to make. Put some research into this. I've been researching it for, I don't know, maybe a month now about why I like it. I'm going to touch on some of the main points. We'll quickly check out CoinMarketCap. I'll show you their website, their Twitter. But all that being said, I'm going to cover my opinions on here. I think I have to say this disclaimer, like, this is not financial advice, blah, blah, blah. It's not. These are my opinions. You guys know that. Let's get into this. So the coin we are talking about today is Zilliqa, and it is a high-speed, high-throughput blockchain. And right now, I'm going to get into this in a minute, but I really like it based on well, a lot of things. So let's just get into this. So anyway, what is Zilliqa? Here's where it started. It's actually been around for a while. I think it took them a little bit to come up with the name Zilliqa, but it originally started back in 2015 when these two scientists who were on the team kind of wrote the paper. And the issue that they're working on solving is scalability, and the way that they're doing that is through sharding. Now, if you don't know what sharding is, I will walk through that when we get to that slide. It's a fairly simple concept to grasp, but it's very complicated when it gets down to a technical level. So anyway, right now they do have a proven product. I'll talk about in just a second. They are working with a couple companies, and they have been for a couple of years now, just kind of more of like a testnet format. And the way this whole thing kind of works is that the larger their network grows, the faster their processing of transaction gets. And we'll cover that in a little bit more. But what they're trying to do in terms of, we hear a lot about like, scalability issues, solving scalability. Well, from their outlook, there's a couple, there's some quick fixes out there, and we're going to talk about these just briefly right here. So one of the things that they'll mention in there is that, when people are talking about scaling, they talk about increasing the block size, right? We've seen other, high profile coins, Bitcoin, do this to try to get more transactions in. The problem is you can only increase the block size so many times before it's too big. Another solutions that they've added in there is incorporating more blockchains. The problem when you do that with more actual blockchains, you're exposed to some security issues. Some of the weaker blockchains in there can get exposed to hackers and bad people when we do that. So they didn't quite go that route either. There's solutions in terms of like going off-chain, like the Lightning Network is an example of that. And while that works and it's good, at some point there's going to be applications that are going to be built on these platforms that do not have the ability or can't go, off-chain to do whatever it is that they need to do. So this is kind of where Zilliqa is trying to fill this void. And again, I'll get into this in a second, but what they've done and what they've worked on is sharding. Not like the along came poly, I shart myself line, but sharding with a D, not a T. So anyway, what they've kind of proven out through this, and I'm covering this kind of process overview, is that through their nodes, they're able to process 600, look at that little typo in there, 600 transactions per second. With 2,400 nodes, they're able to process 1,400 transactions per second. Both of these are nice round numbers. I think it was a variant of there. But what they're kind of figuring out is the more nodes that they have and the larger their mining network gets, the more transactions they can actually process per second. Now, if we compare that, PayPal is roughly 500 per second, Visa right around 8,000 per second. You guys know from just general knowledge that Bitcoin and Ethereum is very, very low. We're talking like single and double digit transactions in a pretty hardy time frame. So they're really they're referring to themselves as a very high level, high throughput blockchain because their goal is to bring a whole next level of applications to be built on this blockchain. So actually, we'll get into that right now, I suppose. So anyway, they're going to be working on bringing new decentralized apps on there that are very, very high level. So again, next level blockchain, their goal is to support high transacting applications. Now, if you think about like a Facebook or a Google or something, they are processing tons of different transactions a day. And when we're talking about transactions, not everything is like payment based. So just transactions, whatever it may be. So anyway, they believe if they can build this high operating blockchain using sharding, that this is going to bring a whole set or a whole new set of applications to the market. What they're very big on right now, and the one that they kind of talk about in their presentation, I probably should have throw a link in there, but it's 45-minute presentation. It was at one of the blockchain events or some sort. I don't even remember which one it was, but what they touch on is digital advertising and how big not only that is now and how big it's become over the last 10 years, but the further growth of it. So right now there's a lot of advertisement fraud. There isn't much control of like where your ads go. So the examples that they use is like, you don't necessarily, like, ads can pop up anywhere. There's literally no control. So if you don't want your advertisement to be popping up on a porn site, or if you're an airline and you don't want your ad to be popping up on an article that is about a plane crash, like, these are some control things they talk about there. This is just one of many examples, but the problem that they're trying to solve is that there's billions of dollars wasted in advertising fees because ads are going to spots that advertisers don't want them to. But they're also working on a ton of other decentralized applications. One of them being like shared economy apps. Think like Uber, Airbnb, right? They put together like a transportation or a place to stay, but you do have to go through a middleman. They're working, who gets a cut, obviously. They're working on some decentralized applications that can be built on this that would be similar to that. They're doing payment processing. They're doing parallel auctions. Scientific computing, I'll be honest, I don't exactly know what that means, but those are some points they talked about in their presentation. So this is what I like about it. Besides the fact that they're solving problems that I believe that are going to be huge, basically 2018, 19, and 2020, which is just scalability, interoperability, compatibility. Like, these are things that they're working on. So we'll flip over to CoinMarketCap in a second, but right now the price is like between 6 and 7 cents. And this is actually like 50 to 70% lower from when it actually debuted on like the exchanges, right? So they had an ICO, blah blah blah. Most like most ICO stuff has been blowing up. Theirs kind of hit in this bearish crypto winter, ICO winter, whatever you want to call it. So there wasn't a lot of price action right out of the gate for some of these guys. So it's actually down from when it initially hit. Like CoinMarketCap. I think the first one was maybe QOB is the, we'll check on it in a second. But yeah, so I really like that aspect of it. Again, I think maybe 6 or 7 cents right now, which makes it very easy to get a large portion of these for not a huge price. And I don't necessarily, I better be careful how I phrase this. So if you're into ICOs, Ian Bellina actually did a full review on this. He talks about the team, and I think he ranked them very well, but the ROI after the ICO was not that great. So anyway, another thing that I do like about it, and something that people do when they're doing ICO research, is they do actually have a deployed product. They have a working piece, and right now they're working with 2 different companies, and they've been doing so for 2-ish years. One is a regional exchange. I don't know who it is, and then the other one is a large shipping company that does a mass amount of transactions, and so they have their net out there actually working. So that's a great sign. Some other things, they're obviously working on future partnerships and how to implicate some of these things. But another thing, and this I would say maybe I probably should have put this in bold. These next couple right here, I think are my favorite things, is that they're going to be super compatible with other blockchain networks. So what they straight up say is, like, we're not here to compete with Ethereum, with Neo, with some of these other new ventures. We're here to add value to those projects, using our applications, using our what do I want? They call it a suite of decentralized apps. So they're adding value to some of these other projects that are out there, and I think that's huge. When you're not necessarily a competitor, but you add value, I think that gives you a lot of like clout and room for growth. So anyway, I think that's awesome. Like I said, they're there to complement other networks through compatibility. The term that is used very often is interoperability, meaning it can go cross-chain. So I think that is super awesome. Last but not least, they are working on incorporating smart contracts using, probably should have proofread this little guy before I did that, but hey, we don't do that here. But using their sharding technology. Now, this isn't like a full-on working thing yet. There's still some development that needs to be done, but what they're working on incorporating the smart contracts using what they call like data flow smart contract language. That's a little over my head in terms of like the technical standpoint. From what they're saying, it's obviously everything that they're doing is quite complicated in advance, but processed down the road. But again, their overall mindset and outlook is pretty legit in my opinion. So anyway, sharding. Now this is probably like in terms of takeaways here and something to learn, this is probably like one of the biggest things we can take away, because this is something not a ton that isn't out there a ton yet. So what is sharding? So if you look at it from their standpoint, what they refer to sharding is basically they divide and they conquer parallel to each other. So the example that they use is it's basically if you have a blockchain network of, we'll say, 1,000 miners, and they're all processing transactions. What they actually do is they break this group of 1,000 miners down into 10 smaller groups of 100, and each of those groups of 100 are responsible for conquering these transactions. And this is the whole part of like more nodes, more miners, more people in their network can process more transactions more efficiently. So what they actually do is they break down all these transactions and I don't even know how this works. Again, very technical. It's easy to see like the overarching value here, but they break it down with a process called consensus process. And after they break it all down, they process all of them. Somehow then they put back all of the pieces into a block. And that's how they're able to work these things so quickly and so efficiently. So if we look at like how like maybe like a Bitcoin or Ethereum does it, so it says right here, so instead of all nodes working on the same set of transactions at the same time, each shard, which would be like, a shard is going to be one of these groups of 10. So if they took the 1,000 group of miners, broke them down into 10 groups of 100, those 10 groups would each be considered a shard. So instead of all nodes working on the same set of transactions at the same time, each shard works on a set of transactions simultaneously, and then they put it back together as it goes into the block. So that's why they would be able to basically process these things so quickly. So pretty cool technology here, guys. I'm doing the best to explain this. I'm not a technical wizard, but I think the concept is easy to grasp, but to dive in deeper on the true technical aspects of it, I think is definitely over my head. Based on what they talk about, it's fairly complicated to do, but very easy to explain. And there are some red flags with this. I'm not saying like this is like the perfect process. There's some issues with security based on when they break down into each individual shards and stuff. But it sounds like they have their ducks far enough in a row to make sure these transactions are secure. So anyway, my final thoughts on the coin. One, I do like for the fact that it's been around, originally, the idea started in 2015. We're now in 2018. That means there's been 3 years of work in there. You can go through it, and we'll quickly glance at the site, but you can go through, check out the team. Looks like they have some, what Ian Bellino would call superstars on there, but you can check all that out. But I like the fact that this hasn't just bounced into the network. There is a good amount of work already behind this, and now they're starting to make way. They're not super flashy. There's not a lot of marketing around that, right? Like this probably could have been hyped up super well and it done better maybe by the time it hit the market than it actually did. But fairly low key, right? We're not seeing a ton of videos. We're not seeing a ton of people on Twitter. We're not seeing a ton of action around this coin. Fairly low key. So maybe this is the first time you've ever even heard of this. I don't know. Again, since it is sort of a newer emerging kind of project, newer technology, you're going to need to if you were to go out and buy today at 6 or 7 cents, you're going to need to exercise some patience. I don't think this is something that's going to go up, hundreds of percents over the next 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. I think that you kind of need to, if you were to get in on something like this, you'd have to hold through 2018. Again, I think I touched on this. I don't think it necessarily took off is because when the ICO actually became available, not necessarily to the public, but when it hit exchanges, it hit in this bear market, and that's why we saw literally everything pull back down in the market. People who maybe got in on this ICO, I don't know what the ICO price was like when they bought in, but I don't think they were able to fully cash in like others have been on some emerging ICOs. So anyway, and last but not least, if we're looking at any project or coin, like these guys are solving maybe the 2 or 3 biggest problems that people are seeing in terms of blockchain and 18, 19, and 20, scaling, interoperability, and I don't actually know what the if there's going to be like fees or anything involved in this, like if it'll be like a Rayblocks or an IOTA, but they're tackling 2 of the largest I'll say issues, I don't even say problems, that are in this space. So that is what I have for you on this coin. This is why I like it. This is why, and I'll be honest, it's not like I have hundreds of thousands of these coins. This is something that I'm actually working my way into. I bought some the end of January, and I'm going to keep cost averaging my way in. This is something that I like, especially as I get my portfolio more organized. This is one that I'm going to sit on and not necessarily like, day trade if it goes up, 50, 80% or something like that. So anyway, this is probably for me, I would say a mid to long-term hold, a year, 2, maybe longer. So there is that, guys. That's my overall outlook on this, kind of what it is, brief overview. If we switch over here, oh, I'm glad I have this up already. Brilliant. If you want to get it, it's actually listed on Gate.io. If you've been following me, I've actually been fairly, it's not Gate is not necessarily the most pretty or high tech of all. Okay, so we're just under 7 cents at this point. It's not the prettiest of exchanges, but I actually really like Gate. I think they're getting a lot of new emerging coins, and I think part of the way to be successful in finding some of these new projects is getting them before they hit a Binance, before they hit a Bittrex. You want to pick them up on Huobi, on Ether Delta, on Gate, on some of these smaller exchanges before they hit, right? If we can stay a little bit ahead of the curve based on what we know, that could help increase our chances or even our ROI if we're looking to sell something like that. So anyway, Gate.io, here is their coin market cap. I actually thought this was hilarious. Jesus coin, 37% more effective than prayer. Well done, that's hilarious. But right now up 16%. Right about what we saw on Gate, and this one's sitting here for a while, but we can see market cap is under a half a B, volume 13 million, or 24-hour volume 13 million, and we can obviously check out the the total supply and the circulating supply here. It is ranked number 58 on CoinMarketCap, and as you can see, talking about the price points. I don't know why it's doing this. Here we go. So we can see here when it looks like when it initially hit the markets at 13 cents, up to a high of 15.7. We'll call it 16 cents, and we are down here right now at 6 cents. So I think there's some room for growth, especially as this thing recovers. And if we look at just kind of the where it's gone in the very short period, it hasn't had a full cycle yet. So a lot of these coins, if we look at, there's a big spike up, and then a drop, and then we have that consolidation period where people accumulate shit. So this is a good time to buy, in my opinion. I just think you're going to need to exercise some patience. So there is that. Last but not least, you can check out their Twitter page. They're very active on this with posting some of their stuff. Their CEO is very involved. They do a lot of things that are positive for their community. So anyway, if you want to check out their website, it is Zilliqa.com, and you can go check out all their stuff. Obviously, I probably should move my stupid head out of the middle of the screen here, but you can go check out where they've been featured in the news, their partners, this, that, the other thing. You can check out their teams, all this other stuff. But yeah, guys, this is one I really like for 2017. I haven't figured out the title of this video yet, so if it ends up being clickbaity, I'm sorry. I try to stay away from that just because it works, but whatever, but it's shitty at the same time. So anyway, it's a ethics thing for me. But anyway, that's all I have, guys. I appreciate you sticking around. I hope you found some value in this video. I hope you learned something today. If you're finding these videos helpful, by all means, hit the subscribe button. We have a great little community developed. We have a lot of good people who contribute quality questions, quality insights in the comment sections below. If you want to punch me in the face, definitely hit the like button. If I was Supo-Man, I would say, smash up the likes, peeps, smash up the likes, but I refuse to say smash up the likes. So if you liked the video and you're being gracious, go ahead and toss your boy a like. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys. I will be back tomorrow or Monday with another video. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scale back. I shot 80-something videos and like, I don't know, I missed like 2 or 3 days in there. And what makes that tough is just the fact, you can shut this off because it's just me ranting, but what makes that tough is that when you're shooting that many videos, sometimes it takes me 3 to 5 hours, depending on the topic, to do one start to finish, research and this and that. So I'm going to scale that back a little bit just so I can continue to invest more in terms of learning, picking up new knowledge, doing more research, and then being able to apply that into these videos as opposed to video, which is even though this video is probably 12 to 15 minutes, the time suck on doing these is fairly large. So anyway, that is all I have for you guys. Good luck. Appreciate you as always. I'll be posting this shit all over the place, so I will catch you guys later. So yeah.